Think you know what goes on at airport security? Think again? From surprising scanner tricks to hidden secrets that could save you time, stress, and maybe even a headache, these are the TSA's top 15 secrets they really don't want you to know. Buckle up, because we're pulling back the curtain on everything the frequent flyers won't tell you. Before we jump in, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more insider tips for life's everyday adventures. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. 1. Body scanners detect anomalies, not just weapons. When you step into a TSA body scanner, you're probably imagining it's solely looking for weapons. The truth is a bit different. These scanners search for anomalies, anything that doesn't align with a typical human body outline. This can include rolled-up clothing, larger objects in your pockets, or even the folds in baggy pants. Essentially, the scanner identifies areas that may seem unusual rather than providing a clear image of what you're carrying. If you've been pulled aside for additional screening, it doesn't necessarily mean you looked suspicious. More often than not, it means the scanner detected something out of the ordinary in your outline. For example, tucked away snacks, extra layers of clothing, or even a medical device could trigger an alert. Additionally, TSA agents reviewing the scans don't always know what they're seeing. They're trained to flag anything that stands out, but harmless items like tissues or belts can lead to delays. The next time you fly, avoid bulky clothing and double-check your pockets before going through security. Minimizing items that could appear unusual in the scanner can save you time and hassle. 2. Security tests highlight weaknesses in the system. It's easy to feel reassured by TSA's high-tech equipment and strict protocols, but behind the scenes, their system has major flaws. Homeland Security routinely conducts undercover tests to evaluate TSA's ability to detect threats. The most shocking finding, TSA often fails these tests. One report revealed that agents smuggled fake weapons and explosives past airport security in 90% of test cases. These internal trials are designed to expose weaknesses for improvement, but the consistent failure rate raises serious questions. If TSA can't detect test threats, what about real ones? What's more, these results rarely get disclosed to the public. TSA tends to keep these details under wraps to preserve traveler confidence. However, the information highlights the need for more robust measures. To improve your safety, stay proactive, familiarize yourself with carry-on rules, and report anything suspicious you notice during your travels. While TSA plays a role in airport security, we're all part of the broader safety network. 3. TSA agents aren't law enforcement officers. TSA agents may wear uniforms and assume a position of authority, but they are not police officers. Their main duty is to screen passengers and enforce travel regulations, not to enforce laws. If you commit a legal offense, such as attempting to bring a weapon through security, TSA agents don't have the authority to arrest you. Instead, they're required to contact airport police or federal officers to handle the situation. This distinction means TSA agents cannot charge you with crimes or levy heavy legal actions. What they can do, however, is confiscate prohibited items, delay your travel, or deny boarding if you refuse to comply with security procedures. For travelers, the takeaway is, while TSA agents have their own set of rules, understanding their limitations can help you better communicate and resolve issues. Always stay respectful, even when you feel they're being overly strict, as escalating the situation could land you in deeper trouble with law enforcement. The next time you travel, remember to follow guidelines carefully. Knowing TSA's role as well as their limitations can help you avoid unnecessary confrontations and keep your trip on schedule. 4. TSA PreCheck isn't a free pass. TSA PreCheck is like a golden ticket through airport security, shorter lines, no need to remove your shoes or belt, and a faster overall experience. But don't mistake it for complete immunity from random security measures. PreCheck passengers are still under surveillance, and sometimes they're pulled aside for additional screening, either randomly or based on detected irregularities. Have you noticed the letters SSS? That stands for Secondary Security Screening Selection, meaning that traveler was flagged for extra scrutiny. And yes, this can happen even if you're enrolled in TSA. The enhanced vetting might involve a detailed bag inspection or a pat-down, especially if TSA is testing their own readiness or reacting to specific behaviors. While PreCheck is undoubtedly a convenience, it's not foolproof. TSA is still relying on its agents and detection systems to catch anything suspicious. To ensure smooth sailing, follow all instructions and avoid last-minute packing that could appear unusual on the scanner. PreCheck makes things easier, but it doesn't totally exempt you from the overall security process. 5. The liquid rule isn't as strict as it seems. You've probably heard that no liquids over 4 ounces are allowed in your carry-on. However, this rule has some significant exceptions. TSA does permit larger quantities of specific liquids, such as medications, baby formula, breast milk, and certain medical liquids, as long as they are declared at the checkpoint for extra screening. Additionally, the liquid limit doesn't apply to checked luggage. If you have a favorite full-size shampoo or lotion, packing it in your checked suitcase is perfectly fine. Understanding these exceptions can save you both time and frustration at security. It's worth noting that TSA agents don't always go out of their way to explain these nuances. You're expected to know the rules ahead of time, so research is key. Prepare by separating any larger allowable liquids into a separate bag and informing TSA agents about them up front. Clear communication and organization will make the process smoother for both you and the agent. By knowing the ins and outs of the liquid rule, you can travel smarter and avoid unnecessary delays. Sometimes, it's just about knowing what's allowed and taking the steps to follow the procedure precisely. 6. Surveillance starts long before the checkpoint. If you think TSA only starts observing you once you step into the security line, you're mistaken. Surveillance begins well before you approach the checkpoint. Officers specifically trained in behavior analysis keep a close eye on travelers for behaviors that seem out of the ordinary. These behaviors can include pacing, sweating without physical exertion, sudden hesitation, or avoiding eye contact. Known as behavior detection officers, BDOs, these agents are trained to look for nonverbal cues that may indicate stress, anxiety, or even deceptive intention. While these signs alone don't prove guilt, they may prompt further observation or screening. For example, someone sweating profusely might just be nervous about flying, but in some cases, this behavior has flagged individuals carrying prohibited items or contraband. If you've ever been pulled aside seemingly at random, but you were behaving nervously, your body language may have been the reason. If you want to avoid extra scrutiny, try to remain calm and collected during the airport experience. Preparation helps. Having your documents and belongings in order can reduce stress and make you less likely to act in ways that might draw attention. 7. Approved items are still subject to confiscation. Finding a TSA approved item online isn't always a guarantee that it won't be taken away during a security check. Every decision about what can or cannot pass through is ultimately at the discretion of the TSA agents on duty. Even if you've carried certain items in the past without issue, they could still be flagged depending on how they are perceived. For instance, items like tactical pens, compact tools, or oddly shaped souvenirs may appear questionable to agents because of their resemblance to weapons or other restricted objects. Decisions often come down to individual judgment, which varies from agent to agent. This inconsistency can be frustrating for travelers who believe they've followed all the rules. Unfortunately, TSA's website explicitly states that all decisions are made on a case-by-case basis. A good rule of thumb is to avoid packing anything you can't afford to lose. If you're carrying valuable or sentimental items, it's better to stow them in your checked luggage or leave them at home altogether. The last thing you want is to argue with security over a confiscated keepsake you thought was allowed. 8. Your social media activity might be reviewed. Most travelers don't associate their social media presence with airport security, but it can sometimes come under scrutiny. While TSA doesn't engage in routine monitoring of social media accounts, flagged passengers, such as those undergoing special screenings, may find their online activity reviewed as part of broader background check. Posts containing jokes about sensitive topics like bombs, drugs, or airport security can be taken seriously, even if they were meant as harmless humor. Authorities have questioned travelers over social media content that raise concern, with some situations leading to delays or even denied boarding. For those traveling internationally, customs officials may also consider your social media, especially if it suggests potential violations of travel regulations or laws in your destination country. The takeaway: always treat your social media as public information. If a joke or photo could be misinterpreted during a security process, it's better not to post it in the first place. This simple precaution could save you from unnecessary complications at the airport. 9. Most TSA dogs are trained for explosives detection. When you see TSA dogs sniffing luggage or walking through lines of passengers, many people assume they're trained to detect drugs. However, the primary focus of TSA working dogs is detecting explosives. This makes sense, given that preventing catastrophic threats is TSA's top priority. Dogs trained to identify explosives are experts at detecting specific chemical compounds, critical for locating anything from improvised devices to components of larger threats. Meanwhile, drug-related enforcement typically falls under the jurisdiction of local airport police, customs officers, or the DEA. Only some airports use dual-trained dogs capable of detecting both explosives and drugs, and the focus remains on explosives unless drug suspicion arises. This distinction explains why you might see someone openly or casually carrying small quantities of drugs, such as marijuana, through a TSA checkpoint without incident. If the dog is trained for bombs, it won't react to anything else. For travelers, this highlights how highly specialized these canine teams are for their assigned duties. 10. You can legally opt out of body scanners. If you're uncomfortable with stepping into a body scanner for any reason, privacy concerns, medical conditions, or personal beliefs, you're not obligated to use it. Legally, passengers have the right to opt for a manual pat-down instead. What TSA won't tell you outright is that while this is an option, it isn't particularly convenient. Manual pat-downs are often designed to be thorough and frankly awkward in order to discourage passengers from consistently choosing this alternative. The process is slow and involves physical contact, which deters all but the most determined individuals. If you do decide to ask for a pat-down, you should expect a delay, since TSA agents need to step away from their other responsibilities to accommodate your request. Despite this inconvenience, the option does exist. If you'd rather not deal with a scanner, simply inform the TSA agent when you reach the checkpoint. Be prepared, however, to budget extra time into your airport schedule, as pat-downs can take significantly longer than going through the scanner. 11. The mysterious TSA watch list you'll never know about. While most people are familiar with the no-fly list, fewer know about a different, low-profile TSA watch list that's even more cryptic. Unlike the no-fly list, this secret watch list isn't about known criminals or serious offenders. It flags passengers based on behavior that appears aggressive, uncooperative, or suspicious at airport checkpoints. Even though you may have committed no crimes, acting a little too erratic or argumentative can reportedly land you here. What's even more unsettling about this watch list is its invisibility. You can be flagged without your knowledge, and the only hint might be seeing SSSS, Secondary Security Screening Selection, printed on your boarding pass. This code could lead to enhanced screenings, additional bag searches, or an insider team keeping a closer eye on you during your travel. Getting removed from the TSA watch list is notoriously difficult because it's based on subjective assessments rather than hard evidence. Authorities have the legal right to maintain this database for national security purposes. It's important to stay polite and cooperative during screenings to avoid drawing that extra attention. After all, prevention is always better than dealing with the consequences of being labeled suspicious. 12. Bottled water. Why it occasionally slips through. The infamous liquid ban has frustrated travelers for years, but here's the truth many don't realize. Sometimes, bottled water still gets through the TSA checkpoint. How? Human error and the limitations of the system. TSA agents focus on thousands of bags every day, scanning for items that could legitimately pose a threat. If your water bottle is buried under layers of clothing or tucked into a side pocket, it might just go unnoticed. This isn't to say that bringing a bottle of water through is TSA approved. If agents spot it, you'll be asked to dispose of it immediately. However, the sheer volume of passengers means mistakes happen frequently. Travelers have also shared countless instances where they mistakenly left a drink in their carry-on, only to realize it was never flagged. But don't count on this happening. Liquid-related errors may be common, but the penalty for trying to sneak something intentionally, like alcohol, can lead to confiscation or even being flagged for closer inspection in the future. If staying hydrated is important to you, consider bringing an empty, reusable water bottle. Once you've passed security, you can easily refill it at a water fountain or hydration station, saving both the environment and a bit of money. 13. The truth about TSA locks and luggage safety. TSA-approved locks are designed to make life simpler for both travelers and agents. They allow TSA to open your luggage for inspection without damaging the lock or the suitcase itself. However, there's a catch that almost no one talks about. TSA lock master keys were leaked online years ago, and photos of the keys have circulated widely since. This means that anyone with access to a 3D printer or the right tools can replicate them. Unfortunately, this revelation casts a shadow on these locks' perceived security. While TSA locks can deter casual tampering, they don't offer robust protection against someone who's determined to get into your suitcase. If you're carrying valuable items, a better approach is to store them inside a smaller, locked case within your luggage or avoid checking them altogether. Valuable or sentimental items like jewelry, electronics, or passports should always stay in your carry-on anyway. For travelers, the takeaway is that TSA locks are all about convenience, not comprehensive protection. Use them with the understanding that they are just one part of a larger strategy for keeping your belongings as safe as possible on the road. 14. Patience over tips. How your attitude affects security. If the thought has crossed your mind that being extra polite or handing over tips might help you speed through TSA, here's what actually matters. Your demeanor. Tips won't help, but a calm, friendly attitude can make a real difference in how your screening goes. TSA agents deal with stressed, rushed, and often rude passengers every single day. While their focus is on security and procedure, human nature means they remember who's easy to work with. If a passenger is argumentative, irritable, or outright disrespectful, agents are more likely to subject them to stricter scrutiny. It's not favoritism. This reaction stems from heightened caution around individuals who seem confrontational. On the other hand, passengers who greet agents with respect and cooperate without pushing boundaries often experience a smoother, faster process. This piece of advice isn't in any TSA manual, but it's an unwritten rule of how travel personalities can influence the pace and tone of your interaction with agents. Smile, make eye contact, and follow instructions. It's a simple adjustment that can save you precious time and unnecessary stress. 15. The eye-opening reality of TSA agent training. You might assume TSA agents undergo intensive, long-term training to handle the complexities of airport security. However, the reality is far from that. Most TSA officers receive only a few weeks of classroom and hands-on training before stepping into their roles. Add in the pressures of high turnover, relatively low pay, and physically demanding hours, and you start to understand why errors and inconsistencies occur at checkpoint. The job relies as much on technology as it does human judgment. Before agents become proficient at spotting suspicious items or understanding the mechanics of advanced scanning equipment, they're often thrust into fast-paced, high-stakes environments. This can lead to inconsistency in enforcement, confusion about specific guidelines, or even outright mistakes. To ensure smoother experiences, travelers can help themselves by being proactive. Double-check that your carry-on complies with TSA's rules and stay informed about current guidelines. While agents work hard to handle security under challenging circumstances, understanding the limitations of their training can help you manage your expectations and responses during screening. Navigating airport security doesn't have to be a guessing game. The 15 TSA secrets revealed here offer practical insights into how the system works, helping you save time, reduce stress, and avoid unnecessary inconvenience. From understanding the role of body scanners and pre-check limitations, to recognizing how TSA assesses behaviors and enforces liquid rules, these tips empower you to travel smarter. Knowing what to expect, like the limitations of TSA locks or the option to opt out of body scanners, puts you in control of your airport experience. Whether it's packing strategically, maintaining a positive attitude, or simply being proactive in following guidelines, applying these learnings can make a world of difference. Armed with this knowledge, you're ready to approach your next airport visit with confidence and ease. If you found this guide helpful, share it with fellow travelers and help them breeze through security too. What's your go-to tip for making airport security a breeze? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.